we're still with prisons, actually. We're going to talk about that animal, Hashem Abedi, who was the Manchester Arena bomber. He's serving a whole life, he's serving a life sentence, minimum 55 years, after being found guilty of the murder, the vicious murder, the violent murder of 22 Ariana Grande fans at Manchester Arena. His brother, of course, was a suicide bomber who killed himself in the process. Hashem Abedi, in April, beginning of April, he had been placed in the separation unit at Frankland jail, HMP Frankland. Separation unit had kitchens, television, video games, just a few of these high security prisoners. I think most of them Islamic prisoners. Certainly he was. There they are in this sort of lovely luxury area, and he rewarded this luxury privilege by using the kitchen to cook up cooking oil to a scalding extent, pouring it over 3 officers, and then trying to stab 2 of them with a homemade knife that he also made in the kitchen. He got transferred this was in April the 12th, I believe it was. He's been transferred to the tougher prison, Belmarsh, in South East London, where 4 months later, he's had all of his jail privileges restored. That means that he is allowed to go to the gym, he's allowed to use the canteen, he's got a full TV with, I think, 25 channels available to him, and so on and so forth. He's had his full privileges restored 4 months after he viciously attacked 3 prison officers. 1 female who was badly burnt with the oil, 2 guys that he tried to stab to death. They were very seriously stabbed. They all had to go to hospital. He has now had his privileges restored. My idea is this. I would have said to him, all right, Hashem, here's the deal. We had you in a special separation unit. You abused that by cooking up cooking oil, attacking 3 officers and trying to stab 2 of them to death. We're taking your privileges away. You won't have a television from now on. You'll never be able to go to the canteen, and you can't go to the gym. You're not allowed out of your cell for the rest of your sentence. In other words, the rest of your life. Instead, 4 months later, he's got full privileges again. What is going on in this country? Let's talk to former copper and, of course, the boss of the Excellent Fair Cop organisation, Harry Miller. Harry, you know, we've lost touch with the concept of punishment, haven't we? Why has this guy got his privileges back? How about we never give him his privileges back? What is going on here?
Quite honestly, he's privileged to be in a British prison. That should be his privilege, because he could be wearing an orange jumpsuit in Guantanamo Bay. He could be in any number of the pit holes that there are that count as prisons across the Middle East. But no, he's serving his sentence in relative safety, in relative warmth, probably with 3 meals a day. And I wouldn't say that he should have no mental stimulation at all. What I would do, I would treat him like a desert island disc castaway. I'd give him a copy of the Bible, I'd give him a copy of the complete works of Shakespeare, and in place of his 3rd book, I would sort of allow him to listen to talk radio for the rest of his life.
That's a terrible punishment.
so that he can work out what real normal people think, what real normal people...
Yeah, that's a good idea. I like that.
Etc. But I wouldn't allow him to have a copy of the Quran. Screw that. I wouldn't allow him to mix with other Muslims. He's, absolutely no chance. He shouldn't be allowed to do that, because of course we run the great risk that prison simply becomes a jihadi training camp, and it doesn't matter if he's not getting out for another 55 years. If we allow him to have contact with other young men who view him as some sort of martyr, as some sort of hero, then of course he will be able to influence them, and we don't want that. We don't want our prisons to become training ground training grounds for tomorrow's jihadists. So I think a life of solitary confinement with only you and your guests for company is the right idea.
Yeah,
that's it.
I like that idea, but the prison officers at Belmarsh are apparently absolutely furious about this. You know, three of their colleagues, you know, were nearly killed by this guy. He tried to kill them. I mean, you're a nicer guy than me, Harry. I would just say to him, these people laugh at us because we don't appear to have the resolve to properly punish them. I would just say to him, look, we put you in a separation unit where you and your mates, there's about 6 of them or something, they had a lovely life. They had their own kitchen, they had their lounge with TV, video games. They were kept away from everyone else. It was almost like being in a private members club or something. He abused that. I would just say to him, okay, mate, you've had your chance. You can ruminate on what you did for the rest of your days in a solitary cell with no one else, no TV, nothing. That's what I do.
I agree. There are two purposes for prison. One is to rehabilitate. Well, he's not going to be rehabilitated, is he? He's
he's never coming out. I mean,
he's going to say a form of words, perhaps at some point, to try and manipulate the system, but he's not going to be rehabilitated. The other purpose, of course, of prison is to protect. Now, we're protected, the public are protected from him immediately because he's behind bars. But you're absolutely right, Kevin. What about those people who are in there doing a honest day's graft? Making sure that he doesn't starve to death, making sure that he's not attacked by other prisoners, looking after his basic human needs. They have a right too. They have a right to be protected from this complete and utter hopeless moron. So I'm not surprised at all that the Prison Federation, the prison officers are up in arms about this, because, you know, workers, normal workers are the last people that these human rights nutters seem to care about. Yeah. All they care about is the so-called human rights of these despicable human beings who need to consider themselves lucky that they are able to draw a breath, as far as I'm concerned. So yeah, throw them in jail in solitary confinement, and give them only reading matter that we approve of, and just let them stay in there. That's my prescription. So I'm not that soft, Kevin. I'm really not.
No, I didn't really think you're all that soft, Harry. But I quite like the idea. I mean, I'm sounding extremely severe here. But then again, I can be in my worst moments. Seriously, Nigel Farage recently suggested that we got involved in a similar scheme to America, where they're going to send already are sending their worst prisoners, the migrant prisoners, to El Salvador, where they're putting these dreadful supermax jails, and they are serious. So I think with people like him, I mean, I'm not saying necessarily send him there first, but if people like him are going to attack prison officers, use the facilities that he's been privileged to be able to use to cook up cooking oil and make a knife to try and kill these officers, then it's like you're off to El Salvador. See how you like that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we should have far less concern about the ongoing happiness of these people. I really, really do. I just don't. Quite frankly, I just don't care about them. I don't care about them at all. And I think that you commit the kind of horrendous acts that he helped to commit with his idiotic brother, then you give up. You absolutely give up your rights. Now, I'm not into torturing people. I'm not necessarily into hanging people. But, you know, that aside, I think you have to earn any privilege, and you earn your privilege by consistent good behavior. Now, I don't think.
But that's
between April and now is not very long, Kevin, is it?
Just to interrupt you, Harry, this is what's so annoying about him getting the restoration of his full privileges. It's for good behaviour. Good behaviour. 4 months after he threw boiling oil and tried to stab 3 prison officers to death. 4 months later.
How's that good behaviour, Kevin? Yeah. You know, you and I managed to get through most weeks without throwing boiling oil over anybody without fashioning some implement into a weapon and stabbing somebody. Just because you don't do that doesn't mean that you are acting with good behavior. Good behavior means that you are engaging in the anti-terrorist program. It means that you are engaging in the de-radicalization plan. It means that you accept your fate and you make a commitment to spend all of your days doing as good as you possibly can. That's good behavior. Not attacking a prison guard is not good behavior. That's simply what's expected to allow you to simply breathe.
Well, he's come down, you know, it's in Belmarsh where he's obviously kept his head down and now he's been deemed to have been so well behaved in the last 4 months since nearly killing 3 prison officers that he's got his full privileges back. The canteen, the gym, the 25 channels on his personal TV. He's allowed to go out of his cell again. I mean, this is just ridiculous. Look, I just think that people like him who do things like this, we should teach them the meaning of punishment, and that he must learn that, listen, mate, you reap what you sow. And we are going to make the rest of your sentence a very long time in which you can think about what you did at Frankland, attacking those 3 officers, as well, of course, as your horrendous crime concerning the Manchester Arena. But you had a nice life in jail. You decided to attack 3 officers in a horrendous fashion. You can sit in a darkened room for the rest of your days and you can think about that. You reap what you sow, right?
I agree absolutely. I mean, we gave his family refuge when they fled from Libya. He's abused that. We've given him privileges in prison and he's abused that. As far as I'm concerned, that's it. It's game over. You're allowed to live, you're allowed to breathe, we'll feed you, and that is it. That is your lot, as far as I'm concerned. That's what it should be. Because we cannot send the message to these other Islamist would-be jihadi types who claim to love death more than we love life. We've got to make sure that they realise that they're not going to get their 72 virgins because we're going to keep them alive for the next 55 years. But we're going to keep them alive in such a state that they were going to wish that they were in some form of other kind of hell, because they're just going to spend their days being bored. That's what they need to be, absolutely bored, fed, watered and bored. Let them read Shakespeare. That'll do me.
Yeah, exactly right. Actually, I wouldn't give them Shakespeare because that's too entertaining. But it might be quite amusing to give them the Bible and not the Quran. But perhaps that's a little bit too strong. Listen, Harry, always a pleasure to talk to you. Thank you so much for your time. Very good points there. Harry Miller, Chief Executive of Fair Cop and a former police officer. Great campaigner for freedom and freedom of speech. What do you think, though? I mean, you know, I don't want to seem too hard-hearted, but this guy, what he did, I mean, of course he's responsible for the death of 22 innocent pop fans at Manchester Arena. That's bad. Obviously, that's dreadful. He's got a life sentence, minimum 55 years. I suppose he just about might be able to get out before he dies if he leaves a long life. You know, then he attacks 3 prison officers and basically 4 months later, it's as if he never did that. He's back up, you know, he's back up and running, full privileges. I just think it's disgraceful.